So often when we're working with buyers and sellers, they say, Keri, what is a comp? All you real estate agents are saying, well, this is a comp, that's not a comp. This one would be a comp and this one wouldn't. And sometimes it's confusing. So let me just explain how real estate agents and appraisers think about that. They consider the proximity to the home, but there are a lot of other factors that they also consider. So the size of the lot is one of the considerations, because if you have one home that's on an acre and another that's on a quarter of an acre, they really won't comp. And a lot of times when you're looking in a neighborhood, if there are a lot of options, then how they determine the comps is a little more narrow and they want something that matches. But what's really complicated when you're talking to your friends or your family members that are selling right down the street in a different zip code, they may only have a couple of sales that are happening a year, and they're doing comp engineering. So they're basically having credits and discounts for different features like the lot size, because there aren't enough comps to consider without that. So often if we're talking to a seller, they're really excited about trying to maximize every dollar. So they're trying to pull in comps that might be a little further away or might have a little bigger lot, or even may have a different bedroom and bathroom count or a different square footage and size of house. So when you're trying to identify comps, you're seeing how many sales happened in the last 6 months. Typically the last 6 months are what an appraiser is going to use when they're determining the comps for your home. But if there were a lot of sales, they're going to be narrowing in to the ones that most specifically have a similar size square footage. They'll look for homes that have a garage that's similar. So if it's a 2-car garage, they'll try and find other properties that also have a 2-car garage. Then they'll try and find lot size that's similar, and of course the location being in close proximity. So if a home sold on your street, they're more likely to consider that a comp than if a home sold a mile away. So as you're determining that, that's important. And then the other piece of it is, if you're in a neighborhood where there are very, very few sales, all of a sudden they may say, okay, we're gonna try using this comp across the street that is on the other side of Route 50, so technically it's a different school pyramid, and we need to account for the difference of value. Or maybe there's a property that is on a main road, or that backs to 66 or another major thoroughfare, where they're going to give a credit or a discount for that type of comp, because there's some drawback compared to your home that needs to be factored in. Or maybe your home is the one that's on the busy street. So in general, when you're thinking about whether a property is a comp to yours or not, it depends on how many homes there are to consider that are the same or different. And then you want to avoid having a lot of factors that you're adding or detracting value. So if one home has 2 fireplaces and one doesn't, of course there's going to be a value exchange for that. But the more you have fewer comps, you have to have some of that push and pull with value. That's very hard for sellers to agree, or even buyers, right? What the value should be. So in an ideal scenario, you're pulling the most similar properties, and those are the comps that will be considered. I hope that's helpful, and we'll talk to you next time.